Hello, welcome back to my channel today. So today I'm just going to be sharing with you guys on how to, make a budget. You probably clicked on this video because you've seen me put up a notification that I posted it, or you're a random person that just wanted to know how to start your 2022 off right. So this is something that personally I needed to start doing. Um, You never take into account how much money you spend throughout the year, especially, after taxes. You think you make such a amount, but after taxes, once you look at how much, you get biweekly or monthly, however you would like to view it, it's always best to just take a step back and see how much money you're spending out throughout the year because it may be more than what you expect. So I'm going to talk about tips on what you should do and what you should not do when it comes to money management. Alrighty? So what we have in front of us today is currently ADP's salary paycheck calculator. So if you ever want to calculate how much after taxes, not considering you allocating money over into your 401k, just your straight up money after. Today, we're just going to do a basic $40,000 salary, bi-weekly basis. We're not going to do any allowances, and we're going to go ahead and calculate that. So as you can see here, let's pull out the calculator. So we have here $1,538.46. So let's go ahead and do that. Times 2, and then we do that times 12. That means, hmm, it may show 36,000 here. That's because we have certain weeks during certain months where we get an extra payday. So I believe in one of these months we get three paydays instead of two. So that's why it's showing 36 instead of 40,000. But what matters here is the after taxes here, what we have. That's how much you actually take home, how much will be deposited into your account. So it's very important when you're making big decisions, you know, and this is how banks, kind of play a tactic in a sense, basically. They always ask you how much you make yearly, and they always ask for this number here. But that's not the number you take home. Why would you ask me how much I make, and that's not the number I take home? So whenever you like buying a house or buying a car, in a sense, always, do things based off how much you take home because they're just going to go based off of how much, you make before taxes, which is basically inconclusive and really not really reliable. So here we go. So we have 20, sorry, not 20, $1,262.04. We're going to do that times two because we get on average paid twice a month. So that's $2,500.24. So that means we now have, so go ahead and pull up your Word sheet document, your Mint, or your Excel sheet, whatever you may use. You will go ahead and put in the amount that you make monthly. This is how much, if I did $40,000 a year, this is how much I would have to my name monthly. Not including no bonuses or anything. This is just straight up base pay. So it's very important when it comes to this take an account on housing. As we know, when it comes to budgeting, it's very hard, to get things inside budget. You're going to have to make some compromises. So when it comes to housing, they always say 30%, which is a lie. We cannot, it'll be nearly impossible to live somewhere by yourself on 30% of your income when it goes to housing. That's really the only way you can really do that is if you're going to have four roommates or three roommates wherever you may live, or you may live in the middle of nowhere, basically, or in some rinky dinky place. So, on a more realistic, unfortunately, most of us spend half of our income on rent. In most population dense areas like Dallas, Miami, Los Angeles, especially Los Angeles, you see how much their rent is. Even from a roommate standpoint, their rent is still like crazy, like 2,000 or like $1,500 just for a room. So, how much you can be able to expect for a budget when it comes to housing? I say 40%, really, not 50%, because ideally, the rule of thumb that I would like to follow is all my bills being covered on one paycheck. So you can be able to have one paycheck that can allocate going to investments and leisure. So notice how I put investment first and then leisure second. The reason of that is because you have your 401k. In my standpoint, my company doesn't do 401k matching, unfortunately. So I would do self investment into individual stocks, or putting them in Vanguard index funds on Webull, Robinhood, Ameritrade. You can find a lot about that information on Google or YouTube. They're both your friend from the same company. So the reason why I put investment first is because that's always important. Investment, investing in yourself, investing into the future, because your money goes down in value every year. Just like how here in 2021, inflation happened, everybody wanted to get a stimulus and everything, you know, nothing wrong with that, but just understand the repercussions of getting a stimulus. Coronavirus really didn't help, you know, our economy. That was pretty much a little bit bad, but it's honestly still good in a sense, you can say. But going back to investment, it's always important investing in yourself. I definitely recommend for anybody that's just now starting out when it comes to investing, always have $1,000 emergency fund. If you're able to, you can go ahead and snap that up to 2,000. And then once you get to 2,000, you can go ahead and eventually get it to 3 months worth of your pay, which is right here, this 2,000. So you want to do three times that, like in a sense of what happened here in 2020 and 2021. If you're watching in the future, you know, in a sense, if you get fired, you know, God forbid that happens, you at least will have 3 months worth of this take home pay to, fall back on until you're able to find another job. So that's why I say always do investments. But it's not only just for, you know, handling your bills, it's for upcoming expenses, So one example is, people, say, I want this car, I want that car, I want a luxury car. Oh no, I want a rugged car. And you never take into account how much it costs to upkeep that specific car. When I had my Corolla, my tires were 16-inch wheels. So replacing my tires were only $400 max or $500 max. I went ahead and upgraded to a Camry. Now, for some tires on my Camry, which are 18-inch wheels, those cost additional $200 in excess. So we're talking about 600. And that's including alignment and disposal fees and everything, taxes and fees, um, about around 600. And that's for like a base model. If you're looking for something that's decent and won't the thread wear won't go down, then we're talking about easily about $800 for four tires, like some Michelin's. About $700 to $800 for some good Michelin tires. So this is what I mean by upcoming expenses. I see a lot of people drive around on bald tires, and that's not good, because here in Florida we have a lot of rain, and the last thing we want is to hydroplane into a wall. And I actually have seen that in real life, you know, someone hydroplaning into a wall on the highway, unfortunately. It's situations like that where you would like to have an emergency fund for that and other upcoming expenses. So that's why I say always invest in yourself first, then leisure second. Leisure, doing whatever you want with your money basically. You can go on vacation, buy that luxury item, or just splurge on some fine dining. Alrighty? So now that we have our monthly budget, we're now going to go ahead and look at our expenses. So I said about 40 to 50%. I'm just going to go based off of the market here in Florida before, pandemic. Um, I'm going to say about 50%. And the reason why I'm going to say 50%, that's going to include your light bill, water, and everything else, for the most part. So we want to go ahead and do half of this, which is 1262. Alrighty? So this is half of your net pay. This is one paycheck. So it's always important that your rent and your lights and water do not go over this amount. That's not including having a car note and car insurance as well. This is why budgeting matters, so you can see where your money is going. So let's say if you do not have a car note, you do have insurance. That's something totally different. We're gonna wait. We're gonna wait for that part. This is how much you would like to budget all together when it comes to rent, water, electricity, including rental insurance as well, which is easily about $150 to $200 a year. That's pretty much nothing. That's something you pay up front. I did that. I just paid the $200 up front and don't have to worry about it for the rest of the year. So our budget here is 1262 when it comes to everything together. So if you're a single person, you should really be looking at a rental no more than $1,000 to $1,100 max. $1,100 max, really, because let's actually put rent here, and then we're gonna put lights. On average, here in Florida, for my lights is only on average $50 a month. Right now it's December, so it's a lot cooler. So I use my AC a lot less. So my bill goes down to $40 a month. So we have that, and then we have the rental insurance every year. So that right there already just ate up your check. You only have $12 left. Usually water is included. Water is subjective to how much you use. My bill is only $25 a month, so we're already going to go over that 1262. But then again, this is not really my salary or anything like that. But going based off of this and what my current expenses, we're already going to go over by $10, which still counts. Don't think and tell yourself that the $10 is not that much. It is that much. It all adds up. Trust me. So we're just gonna say about 25 for the water. I pay water monthly here, which is, kind of rare. We're here in Florida, we usually pay our water every 3 months, but for my specific apartment complex, we have to pay it every month. So we're gonna say $25. So right here, this compromises a lot of our checks. So actually, what we can do is edit this down to 1,090 because we need that extra $10 to go towards it. Actually, extra 13. So we're gonna actually say 187, $1,087. So this just covers the necessities: somewhere to live, your lights, water, rental insurance, just God forbid if your rental burns down. All of that is covered. So now on the flip side, you have 1262 left. This is your other paycheck. Once again, I recommend, trying to budget, if possible, your big bills into one check. If you're not able to, it's understandable. We understand that we must, in some places we must have a car, in some places we must have an apartment, or you're not very comfortable with having roommates to cut back on certain places. I know when I was living with my mom, I'm not gonna lie, I did spend, money very crazy. One morning, during the pandemic, I said I just wanted an Xbox, and I just went ahead and went to Walmart and just bought the Xbox. Then one day I went and bought a $300 TV or whatever. That's because I didn't have a budget, really. I only had my car note and insurance. That's it. So it's always best to have a budget for this reason, because at the end of the year, what do you have to show for? If your account is below $100, if your savings is still at $0, what do you have to show for? So this is where we move into other bills as well. So let's say you don't have a car note. Let's say your card is paid off. So on average, it's about $200 for car insurance. Alrighty? So we have that. Then we have to go ahead and start nibbling at the small things. You're about to see this $1,000 go low very quickly once you start thinking about the small things that you do. Alrighty? So let's say on average, let's say if you have a compact to a sedan, let's say you have a Toyota or a Kia or Hyundai or anything that's pretty, good on gas. Let's say on average you spend about $85. Well, let's say $80. Because everybody works from home pretty much now. And even if you do commute and you have small commute, you'll be totally fine. One moment. Alrighty, I'm back. So let's say you spend $80 on gas. So already 200 minus 60, oh, not 60, 80. You already went down to $982 for the rest of the month. Now, once again, we're doing this from a single person perspective. Um, and I really recommend this, if you're planning on moving out on your own or trying to figure out how to balance your money on your own for the first time. So on average, I have a budget really. Well, I don't really have a budget when it comes to groceries. Reason is, you know, you have different moderations of how people eat. Some people like to eat out a lot. Some people like to cook at home, cook everything at home, natural meal prep. That's all based on how your moderation is when it comes to eating and everything. Personally, for me, just for grocery shopping alone, I would say I spend about 100 on groceries. That's not including random grocery trips, to get this sauce or get this seasoning for the food that I'm cooking tonight. That's just to fill my refrigerator, my cabinets and everything, oil and all that stuff. That's, I'm actually going to put that at 120. I'll say 120 on average I spend on groceries. So now we just cut this down to $120. Now we're down to $862 the rest of the month. And we haven't even got to eating out, having time with friends and everything. And that's what we're actually going to move to. So, eating out nowadays is very expensive. Not very expensive, but it has gone up. You know, we still have $5 meals, but those are pretty abysmal and not that much fulfilling. For some people, it may be. For some people like me, it may only get you a few hours throughout the day. So, on average, for fast food places, you really need $10 to get a decent meal that can, be for dinner, lunch, wherever you may be doing it for. And that's assuming most people that I know eat twice a day. Some people eat once a day. We're not going to talk about that. You need to work on that. Sorry about that. I had to pause right quick. Alrighty, so assuming that you eat fast food at least once a day, we're talking about $10. Personally, me, I would say about twice or three times a week. So that's $30 per week. And we have 4 weeks. So that's already $120. That doesn't include birthday parties or anything or, treating yourself out to eat or anything. On average, for food like that is $25. So we have 120. Now we're gonna also say that you also take yourself to eat, get a drink and everything. We're gonna say that's about a $30 order. So we're gonna round that to 150 for food. That can also include if you buy wine or anything like that. That can include that. You can include that in your groceries, or you can put that in food ethic or etc. So we're gonna go ahead and take out 150. Now we have $700 to stretch for the whole month. Because remember, the first paycheck is going to cover your lights, your rent, and everything else. That check is automatically gone. You still have that one check. So now, this is where we go into, and well, we should have said this first, but either way, it don't matter which order it is, as long as you do it, is what matters. So now we're going to do investment. On a conservative side, I would say $50 per paycheck. That's $100 for investment. That's $100 a month. That's about 1,200. That's on a conservative approach. If you are investing and putting that in a index fund or in an individual stock, you may do a little few option plays here and there um, to do some exponential growth on your account. So let's say $100. We're now down to 600. Women, I did not forget about you as well. This is where things start to get hard because remember, I said anything extra is investment and leisure. So, this is all considering that you do not have a car note. So, I understand women, it's $60 to $80 for your nails, and then probably about $200 to $300 for hair, possibly every month. So we're gonna round that up to about every month. I would say we're gonna round that up to $400. You only have $200. That's $400 just for the women's side. Us men, let's say we get a haircut every week. That's only $100. I understand women, we don't really have that much expensive upkeeping or whatever. Self care is not that expensive, but that's a talk for another day. So let's say for women, $400. That only leaves you with $200 to spend on whatever you want because your necessities are covered: your rent, your lights, your water, rental insurance, your car insurance. You have gas in your car, your groceries in your house. You're able to go ahead and at least every month go out to eat anywhere for $30. Remember, $30 and $10 here and there at a fast food restaurant. And then $100 a month in your investment account. And then, you're spending $400 on your nails and hair, getting your hair done or whatever. I understand women, you may debate and say, oh, the $400 easily is just for the hair alone. But that's something that you have to get creative with. That's subjective. But for the men, that's only 100. Let's say if you also get manicures, because guys get manicures and pedicures as well. That's another 100. So let's say $200 for the guys and 400 for the women. Alrighty. So for women that'll be 212, and for the men that'll be $412. That's when you ask yourself, what do you do with that extra 400? Do you take 200, or you know, what do you do with that? You know, I'm giving you time to, ask yourself that question. That's here. I'm waiting for you to see if you have the right answer. Alrighty, perfect. So remember, I did talk about that emergency fund. Just because you did an investment doesn't mean that that's including your emergency fund. So for women, I understand this may be a little bit hard because you're like, hey, I only have $212. How am I gonna have $1,000, emergency fund at least? That's a good question. So that's where you have to get creative and you have to know how to negotiate penny pinch here and there for hair and whom is doing your hair. That's not including as well subscription service. I can tell you right now, off the top of my head, for my subscriptions, it's $20. I have a $20 max for subscription, and I actually have to edit that around because I interchange them based off what's currently playing. So like stars, if if some show that I'm interested in is on, I will go ahead and they always have promotions where it's like $3 a month. I will go ahead and sign up for that for about 3 months and do that. But as of right now, my subscriptions is just HBO Max, Disney Plus, and Hulu is already included with my $5 Spotify Premium. So I don't pay for Hulu. Well, yeah, I don't pay for Hulu or Showtime. And I forgot what's the other one that comes with the student package. But yes, I highly recommend for when it comes to subscriptions, $20. I didn't say Netflix because most people have T-Mobile nowadays or they have AT&T. Now, it depends on which plan that you purchase, but most people are on family plans these days because it's a lot cheaper just to be on a family plan instead of individually. If you are doing it individually, you'll be at Cricket or Mint Mobile, just to name a few companies, which is only like $40 or $50 a month. So we're gonna say that for a phone. And that's where, so where are we now? So this is just going based off of women. Um, 20 minus 50, that's $142 that you should have in excess to spend on. So, hmm, I'm trying to think of a way you guys can be able to, incorporate. So maybe how about this? How about this? Hmm. I mean, $142. Yeah, yeah, that's gonna be pretty hard because you have to buy clothes and everything else. This is all subjective to the person as well. How much you're spending on clothes? How much are you spending on random items? That come out. Accessories for your phone and everything else. So this is why budgeting is, laying things out. So see how we already came down from $2,500 already. That's how quick that can get eaten up. Just that quick. Just that quick. So, but if we're not including the hair, let's say if you're natural, you go natural, you don't really spend money on that, you have a lot more money. Men as well, we will have, let's say we'll just have $542 left in this situation, you have $500 to spend for the month. Now, this is where I would incorporate, if you do have these $500 still, I would incorporate about, I'm gonna say to be safe, 150. Because remember, we're gonna contribute to that emergency fund every month. So 392, yeah, 392. This is also assuming you do not have any student loans. Whatever student loans you may have, that will have to come out of that 392 as well. That's assuming you don't have any loans. If Now let's say if you have a car note and you do have student loans as well on top of this, this is where you may want to cut back on certain things for right now. So maybe right now is not the best time to do an emergency fund because you got to pay those student loans off. And then let's see where we can edit that out at. Maybe you don't want to eat out as much. So we're going to go ahead and reduce that to like $50. You know, let's say if you go out to have drinks or whatever, you cook home a lot more. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch that over to 180 for groceries. And that's how you're able to situate things around. You have to find out what balance is best for you or whatever that can be able to fit your situation because everybody's situation is different when it comes to that. And of course, our biggest, you know, expense here is rent. And that's once again subjective to if you have roommates, if you're staying on your own, and if you're able to find, anything within that specific rent range. So just keep in mind whenever you're making a budget, this is how you will have to break it down. You have to break it down to the needing the needed I'm sorry, not needed, the important items that you need, the necessities. That's what I was trying to say. The necessities that you need first, and then you narrow it down to the little small itty bits, grocery shopping, the subscriptions, the Netflix and all that stuff, the phone bill, the internet bill on top of that. Actually, that's another $50 for the internet bill because you need internet, you need Wi-Fi at your house. internet. Those are little things that matter. You can't say, oh, instead of paying $50 a month for internet, trust me, I don't want to pay that amount for internet either. You say, hey, I have T-Mobile, Magenta, or whatever. I just pay $80 for my phone bill. And I just save myself $30 a month instead of paying AT&T or Comcast, Frontier, or whomever you may have internet with. You may just say, okay, I'm just gonna buy me a little, or just buy me a used phone, a used Galaxy, a used iPhone off of eBay, and just use it as a hotspot only, and pay $80 a month for the hotspot in my phone service. And you can use that as your modem or whatever. I'm not sure how much bandwidth, as well as your cap on how much your internet usage, basically how many megabits you can be able to use. But yeah, I'm gonna end this video, just showing you guys on how you create and sit down and make your 2022 budget. Okay? And remember, anything extra is for investment and what? Leisure last.